Waxed leather is a type of leather that has been treated with wax to create a smooth and polished finish. The wax may darken the color of the leather itself, giving it a slightly distressed or aged look. This also gives it a relatively rich, luxurious look, and helps make it more resistant to water and stains. Waxed leather is often used to produce boots, jackets, bags, and other accessories where a durable, weather-resistant material is preferred. Let's take a brief look at the history. So waxed leather may have first been used in medieval times, when people discovered that treating leather with wax could improve its durability and water resistance. During the Renaissance, waxed leather became popular for armor and other protective gear. In the 18th and 19th centuries, waxed leather was popular among sailors and fishermen due to its water-resistant properties. This really helped protect them from harsh conditions at sea and the items that they were using. Its ability to withstand various weather conditions and provide extra protection became highly valued in the production of motorcycle gear well into the 20th century. And it's also been used in military applications too. Soldiers and officers often wore waxed leather garments and gear during adverse weather conditions. In recent years, waxed leather has evolved beyond practical uses and made its mark into the fashion world too. Designers and manufacturers often use waxed leather to create really stylish and luxurious leather pieces. All right, let's take a really close-up look at this waxed leather so you could see zoomed in what it's all about. Whoa, here we go. Here's the surface, and if we could see, marks where the hair had grown before the hide was tanned. You also notice a really interesting kind of darkening color to it. There's also almost a little bit of tiny little gradient patterns, around those the holes in the top of the hide. So it's really interesting because these exist in a natural vegetable tan hide, though they're highlighted in this waxed leather example. Checking out the bottom, we see, as we see in most, a relatively open pattern of fibers here. As the fibers, get towards the bottom, they open up and there's more space between them. And even these, the fiber structure is relatively large. Some leathers are going to have a smaller fiber structure, and waxed leather itself, the process can be applied to most any. So you may see some that have a structure like this, and you may see some that have a smaller, tighter fiber structure in the back as well. And here's the cool one, the section view. We can really see now how that wax is penetrating into the surface of the leather looking at this section. At the top of this full grain piece, we see that darkened layer, which is where the wax is kind of settled into the top. And then as we go down deeper into the fibers, we see still a dense pattern, but it opens up more and more as we get to the bottom and the fibers become larger and there's more space in between them. So it's really cool because like clear as day, you could see here how far that wax goes into it. And then it's even more interesting because when we see how flexing it can kind of create discolorations and kind of a rich depth to it, you can see it really doesn't run that deep, yet it has a pretty profound visual and aesthetic impact. When looking at the production process, waxed leather can be made from most any type of leather. And when we go even further, there are the different layer cuts, which include our full grain, our top grain, our split, our suede, things like that. So using a full or top grain is going to be most common for waxed leathers because that surface is then infused with the wax, giving it that unique look combined with the strength and durability of a full grain or a top grain cut. When produced, the leather is cleaned and prepared by removing the impurities and the dirt and oils and running through a typical tanning process. It could be vegetable tanning or chrome tanning. A nice vegetable tanned full grain leather, can be great for waxing on top. And there are some really good chrome tan leathers that have wax applied as well. So when ready, this wax is applied to the surface. The type of wax can really vary, and some common types include beeswax, paraffin, or a combination. And in most cases, each tannery that's producing this will generally have their own unique formula to help set their leathers apart. So if you're looking for it, keep that in mind as well, that waxed leather from one tannery might be very different than waxed leather from another. The leather is then heated through hot air or flame to help the wax penetrate into that material's fibers. Kind of melts it down and opens up those fibers and lets the wax really get in there. And also to be evenly distributed across the surface. After that wax is absorbed, the leather can be buffed or put into a polished finish. And then depending on the final, desired product, additional treatments can be added as well. This could be, distressing the surface to give it a lot of appearances of creases and kind of color variances. Dyes or pigments could be applied, and any kind of number of patterns put in there at that point. So there's a lot of variation that happens at the end, once that wax is already into the surface. Traditionally and historically, wax had been hand rubbed onto the leather. But now with modern techniques and a lot of mechanized processes in tanning, this could involve spraying applications or roller applications as well. Looking at the cost, wax leather is usually around $3 to $10 per square foot. That can vary based on a few key things, including the type of hide used, the quality of that hide, the quality of the tannery, and any kind of unique oils or blends that they're using in that particular line of leather. Some of the pros, it's a very durable leather. Given that it has those waxes in there, it's going to be a little more dense, a little more stiff, but also have increased durability. It's also going to be a little more water resistant. Those waxes are going to help repel that water, and so it's going to give you that added benefit as well. And some of these can also develop a unique patina. It's not going to be the same type of patina that a uncoated vegetable tan leather will have. However, given that these waxes wear away and dirt and grime can kind of get in, they will develop a unique patina style of their own. Looking at some cons, there is reduced breathability. Given that there is a wax, pretty heavy wax layer in there, it's going to reduce some of that air transfer, in and out of that material. And the color may change over time. This is both a positive and a negative. If you're looking for a project that you want a very consistent, even look to that surface over time, this may not be it. Exploring a few good uses. So wax leather can be used in a lot of actually functional and more aesthetic goods. So for example, bags and purses. We've got backpacks, clothing, footwear, gloves, furniture, belts and wallets, accessories, motorcycle gear, and even outdoor gear and equipment, for camping and other outdoor activities. That unique combination of wax and the durability of leather really makes it appealing for a lot of different uses. A few tips for working with waxed leather. First and foremost, make sure your tools are clean, especially after you're working with this, because some of the wax is rubbed off onto those tools, and if you're working with a finer or a different leather afterward, you don't really want to transfer that over. It's not going to be like it's dripping off at all, although since you are working with it, there's a good chance that some of it may get on your tools. And second, definitely if you've never worked with this before, get some scraps or cut off some scraps from a piece that you do get and see how it works with your tools and your techniques. Because it is a little denser and it has a little bit of a different surface texture to it, that may take some of your techniques and vary them a bit. If you're putting in holes with awls or marking things in a certain way, that may respond a little differently given that wax surface, and it also may be a little more dense to cut, to put holes into, to sew, things like that. So basically just get a feel for the material before you use it, for your finished product, and that way you're more familiar with how it responds to your methods. So there you have it, a look into waxed leather. It's actually a really cool material, and when it's used in the right application, it's going to give you some supreme advantages over not having it. So if you're looking for a new one to check out, definitely you can give this a try and see if it's something you may enjoy. And I think it could lead to some really, really great results.